shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Behave yourselves!
Hello, YouTubers out there. This is Jerry Saravia at the movies. So today we're taking a look at Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window, which is celebrating its 70th anniversary this year, and was released back in 1954. And it stars James Stewart, Grace Kelly, Thelma Ritter, Wendell Corey, and of course Raymond Burr. And this film is quite special to me. It's just a splendid thriller. I mean, it is so well done. It doesn't even start off really as a thriller normally would. It takes its time to develop, and it just runs under 2 hours. But boy, those 2 hours, they can be quite a breeze, and it's intoxicating to watch this movie. Filmed in beautiful Technicolor. There's nothing better than Rear Window when it comes to romantic thrillers, particularly from the 1950s through the 60s, if not earlier, certainly by Hitchcock. I mean, he made the best thrillers. He just did. And I would say many of them today are probably just as good as anything that you might see, especially when you consider Rear Window, which deals very much with voyeurism, was certainly influential, and very influential in the work of Brian De Palma. And the most noticeable movie that I would say is practically a remake, I wouldn't say shot by shot, but certainly a remake to some degree, is Body Double, that De Palma did back in 1984. Now, Rear Window I saw back in 1984 for its 30th anniversary. I wanted to see it again. They had AMC sponsors those Fathom events where they re-release certain classic pictures, and it wasn't showing at the one near me, so that was unfortunate. But I did have the chance to see it in theaters 40 years ago. God. That's when certain Hitchcock films were sort of rediscovered, and Rear Window was one of them. Not to mention Vertigo, The Trouble with Harry, The Man Who Knew Too Much, and Rope. Which, I mean, all those are really good films. Rope especially. So what's really special about Rear Window is that, I mean, essentially James Stewart is L.B. Jeffries, and he's a photographer, and he has a broken leg, so he's waiting to heal up. He's apparently a very good photographer, and he got in the middle of a drag racing event where the vehicle, he got a spectacular shot of the vehicle, like if it was heading towards him, and of course he got struck and broke his leg. So he has been in his apartment, and from his apartment, you see the courtyard, the entire area of this Greenwich Village apartments, and all these different lives that are taking place in each one of these apartments, because everybody has their windows open and their shades open. You know, today it's kind of a different world. I would imagine if you are in a courtyard, you're not going to see too many people with their shades open and their windows open, perhaps, so that you can peer inside. But nonetheless, it's kind of a hot summer, so the temperature keeps going up, and so he is watching everybody, and but he's particularly interested with one neighbor, played by Raymond Burr, and there's some funny business going on. He's not sure what it is. He seems to leave at night. He has a wife. What is happening? Then after a while, the wife is not seen anymore. She seems like she's bedridden, and there's a wonderful scene where the Raymond Burr and his wife, they seem to leave the apartment, and the camera pans right back to James Stewart, who is asleep, so he doesn't see this happening, this event. So it looks like there's really nothing going on, but then after a while, when James Stewart is awake, he spots certain things that certainly set off some red flags, and one of them being Raymond Burr wrapping a saw and a knife inside of some newspaper, and then the wife is no longer there anymore. So was she really that bedridden? What's really going on? And then the mystery develops, and he believes that the Raymond Burr character killed his wife. So Grace Kelly enters the picture as L.B. Jeffries' high society gal girlfriend. And there's a beautiful moment where she first appears. He's on his wheelchair, and the shadow forms over his face. And he looks up in close up and then sees her, and she seems to be looking at us. And then kisses in slow motion James Stewart. It's just one of the most breathtaking moments I've ever seen in a movie in my life. The first time I'd seen the film, which was actually in theaters back in 1984, so that was a wonderful way to watch it. That just took my breath away. I mean, I'd never seen anything quite like that at that time. And the suspense builds. Thelma Ritter is Stella, who comes in as a nurse hired by the insurance company to, take care of his back, watch his leg, redress it, whatever. So, and she has some terrific humorous lines, in particular, the very idea that this guy, Raymond Burr, might have chopped up his wife into little pieces. And then there's something going on in the courtyard where there's a little flower bed and the dog next door is interested in it and so on. And, then there's also the neighbors, which really kind of forms the basis of the film at first. For the first hour, it seems to be mostly about, who's this, girl, this ballet dancer known as Torso, things you probably couldn't say today in a movie, but nonetheless, then there's a couple that's always having sex. They have their shades drawn. Then there's the guy who's in a studio apartment who's always playing these fantastic lullabies. He's a songwriter, and so on and so forth. And Miss Lonely Hearts, which those are extraordinary scenes where she pretends she's having a date over and she's all dressed up, but there's no date. It's just nobody's there, and yet the table is set up for two people. It's just extraordinary. Every little detail in this film really builds up, and you get to know these different lives taking, that are being observed by L.B. Jeffries, and through sometimes his binoculars or his deep, long lens. And being a photographer, that would make sense. So what's really stunning about the picture, I think, is that no shot is, although certain pan shots are repeated of the courtyard, they never seem like they're always the same shot. And you can always observe a little corner of the outside world, just wedged in between these two buildings with a street corner, and there's some busy life going on there, and that's all you really see. It's just extraordinary, because you would think that under the hands of some other director, they could have probably made this quite boring visually, and maybe it would feel stodgy, and the pacing could be off, but no, not at all. Everything is amplified to the nth degree. James Stewart is fully alive, fully alert. He is there. He is observing. He gets excited by certain this idea of this murder. Wendell Corey is a fantastic presence. Again, fully alert. I mean, all these people seem really alive, and that's really the thing. They are alive and ticking. There's nothing boring about them at all. They're all very charismatic performers. And Wendell Corey, especially, I should mention, because it was just great to see him again, especially as this lieutenant police detective, and his not really sure that he believes that there was a murder, and how could this guy know there's a murder if he didn't see a murder being committed, and so on and so forth. Grace Kelly, I mean, just a stunning sight. I mean, a wonderful actress. It's there isn't enough to say about her. There never, she was practically, I think, at that time, slowly becoming something that is unusual even in today's world, an institution. I mean, she and James Stewart himself too. These were people that were as iconic as you can imagine, and they just deliver in terms of the persuasive performances of everybody here. They deliver all the way. It's extraordinary. So if you haven't seen Rear Window, check it out. Watch it on get a physical copy. It'll be worth your while. You will want to see it again immediately after you've just seen it once, if you've never seen it. And it's just a stunning display of virtuosity by Hitchcock. The constant shots of the courtyard, and then the camera seems to track in and pan in. It never looks the same when you see James Stewart in his wheelchair, whether he is asleep or he is getting the massage by Thelma Ritter, or he's kissing Grace Kelly. Everything is just incredible, because some of those shots are not necessarily his point of view, because he's not looking. And that is really quite extraordinary, and a fantastic ending with Raymond Burr. I just can't say enough good things about Rear Window. So I would definitely put it up there with Notorious, Rebecca, North by Northwest, Psycho. I know I'm leaving out something. Can't think of... Oh, and Vertigo. Those are the greatest films by Hitchcock ever. Most people, I think, seem to agree with those choices, but Rear Window especially. I mean, it's one of the liveliest films that Hitchcock ever did, aside from North by Northwest, which is an absolutely pitch-perfect movie. If you've never seen North by Northwest, do watch that. That's all I got to say about this. Tell me your thoughts. Have you seen Rear Window? Have any of you been able to catch it at one of these Fathom events? I'm sure it's stunning to see that in a big screen. It certainly was for me back in 1984. So, and back then I also saw Vertigo in the big screen. That was great. So anyway, let me your thoughts. Tell me what you think. I think this is probably, well, I want to say Vertigo is Hitchcock's greatest love story, but Rear Window might be second. It's really just fantastic. And anyway, those are my thoughts. Lend me yours. Tell me some of your favorite Hitchcock films that may not include Rear Window, or maybe it does. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to my channel. And if you are a subscriber, please hit that notification bell for future uploads. And that's all I got to say about Rear Window, 1954. 70th anniversary. Incredible stuff. I think this film will be talked about for many more decades to come. I hope so. And that's all I got to say about that. This is Jerry Saravia at the Movies, signing off.